Hey guys, C2Dev Cyberbob here. I actually made this whole video and forgot to tell you something so awesome and so basic and so important, and that is I now have my own promo code. So if you use Cyberbob and you're a new player and you haven't used all your gift codes yet, because there is a limit if you guys are already playing the game, you will get 5 card packs using Cyberbob. Just submit it here in the shop. You guys, I turned my music off because I realized I'm playing the deck that I might want to do in the next video, and I'm playing Beastly, who's one of the best players. So let's see if we do it. Oh dear God, that's not good. That's not good. This is the big yellow. It's a big boy deck. And if you're wondering why I did this, it's because of this comment right here from Beastly, because I wasn't gonna do it. Now I'm doing it. Jeez. Damn it, Beastly, don't throw. Oh my God. I didn't tell him I was doing it. No, no, no. Beastly, I don't know if I would have beat him or not, guys. I I don't know what this was because it doesn't seem like it'd make a difference unless he had the finishing in his hand. I'm not sure. But there you go. Okay, guys, just for the record, I want to put this because I asked immediately after the match. He didn't actually have it. He did actually lose. And there you have it, guys. Big Yellow is big winning. I just wanted to go ahead and talk about the last deck that's in my personal list of meta climbing decks that will help you guys rank up. I want this to still be the kind of video where it's for beginners and intermediate players. Obviously, advanced players know about these too, but I'm trying to sort of convey the thought process as well as the actual decks. I know it's easy to just get a deck code, but there's some nuance to how to play it and how to think about it. So the deck I'm talking about here is Big Yellow, and again, this is not a deck I personally came up with. It's one of what's on our playtester list. Um, it's something that I would say is, basically everything I have here is going to be really strong. This is going to be one of the strongest and least expensive deck. It is a longer range later game deck. Um, it's if you guys like playing Crusaders or Vikings, it also gives you that particular flavor. It's big yellow because it's big units and big late game stuff. So if you want to kind of dominate the board and have a ton of gas, this is probably the deck to use. This is actually the deck I am using currently, and I am right at the cusp of getting to platinum from gold. I don't actually play that much, but I would say my win rate has been incredibly high on, well, all of these, frankly. But Big Yellow at this stage is one that would be able to absolutely like push out of the rank. So let's go into it and take a look. So this deck, obviously, it's Crusaders and Vikings, as you can see here. It's going to be basically something where it's not going to have too much early game dominance, and I will say there's actually a couple of versions and ways to play this, which is actually why I think it's such a good starter, because you can switch things out for yourself, especially in different ranks or different matchups. Meaning, like if you're kind of stuck in an area where you're seeing the same thing, especially aggro rush decks, you can actually shift some of these things around quite easily in this deck to provide protection early game. So this is the I would say less consistent, less early game protected version of the deck, and it's the one I'm currently using, but I will kind of show both. Um, you're going to see here, kind of going in order of the curve, there's going to be resurrections. So this is, when you're playing Resurrection, the way you want to think about it is, if there's a limit to the cost, 5 or less, you would obviously prefer to be on the higher end of that curve. Now, there is a deprioritization of peasants, so that is something to think about, so you don't have to be too worried about doing that. But obviously, the bigger you can get, the better. This card is so strong, I expect it will be changed, but this is absolutely part of the deck required. And so we have 2 of those. You can see we have the Gorgons. These are making units inert. This is on the Warcry. This is something that's really interesting. Basically, you can, it's a probability based on how many units they have, but if it's early enough or you clear enough and it's only one thing, you know what you can make inert, and you can make your plays around that. Inert is sort of similar to a freeze type of mechanic in that, lets you play around it, play around the unit, move around, position yourself so you have another turn to kind of get in the setup you want, or not get a bad trade in your face that you don't want the opponent to have on that turn. Imperial Guard, Standard Guardian. We have 2 of these. And again, I'm going to show if we switch some things later too. 2 of these, well statted, good guardian, good protection early game. You want to kind of fish for something like this because there is a little bit of weakness to aggro decks. So this is something that will really help you in that case. So when you mulligan, I would go for Imperial Guards. Any of your 3s, really, but this is one of the better ones. The Vaskerheim Warrior, this is one that Cleave puts a lot of pressure on your opponent, especially if you can get it in position. This is something that also when it's resurrected, it's pretty nice to have, especially if it's somewhere in the middle of the board. The way it works is it hits all of the units around it for its damage. It does take return damage for things it hits, and it also does do damage to itself. That's because it is so strong based on its current stats. But this can really bully an opponent around. So I do recommend, this is something I always put in, especially when it comes back later and there's a lot of units clumped together. Even though you're going to kill this unit, it will clear a lot of things. Angel of Mercy. So this is where you're going to see the more resurrection stuff happening. Basically, this is why the deck has so much gas. You can, in the beginning of the game, lose units, take a lot of hits. You will likely even feel behind in many of your matchups, but you're going to keep coming back with more power. So you're going to bring back things that have died, and you're going to get really good stats on the resurrection because you have the body of the angel as well as getting, the resurrection on something. Ideally, all of these are really good. Sacred Ground. This gives you options. I like option cards, so you can, either dispel everything, which is something that can be used. You might have to sacrifice some things on your end by dispelling your own stuff, but you can really block really scary stuff and problematic stuff, or things that have been super buffed with this. But also, if you're kind of winning the board, you can just use the heal, or if you're you've gotten your momentum, but you're a little bit of castle pressures on you, I have used this card to stave off a little bit longer until my power starts showing up. Yarm Lightning, 2 of these. This is probably one of the cards you'll see I use the most. It does damage to everything. You can, because you're resurrecting, these trades are in your favor. If you're trading evenly, you're winning. If you're trading advantage to the opponent, you're winning. And you can even wait and bait a little bit. If you don't feel too much pressure, you can let them load up the board and just put things that will throw away. But you can also actively, because you're going to see some of the things need to be killed by spells, you can actively choose to use this in a time to resurrect your own things later. So this is just absolutely fantastic in a lot of decks, but especially here. Earth Knight, just a really solid card in general. Also, I've used this to take off some pressure on the castle if I'm getting pushed too hard, and he has the Guardian effect, which you have to attack him first if you put him in the right position. Highly recommend this card as well. The Legionnaire. This gets you some treasure and draw. It's pretty good value for what he is. This is something that I think you could shift if you really had to, but I'm using this one. You obviously want him to get 2 kills if you can. Obviously 1 at least, but you can kind of position him in a way and play him in a timing to get the most value out of him. Heaven Claw, just really strong. Yes, he's legendary. He's a good legendary to have. He's fairly versatile. He can be used as just a straight charge, um, or he can give your other units elusive, which will give them walking through the units an additional range. I tend to use him in the charge in this deck a lot because I can kind of choose my trade and have him survive it. But if I have the board, Heaven Claw can really press the advantage. Joff is another card you'll see used in a lot of decks. I wouldn't call him mandatory, but he does do a thing where if you want to have a big leapfrog in your gold curve and use it as treasure, he discards a card and you gain treasure equal to it. So he can come out with a charge, trade something, but also kind of give you a tempo or a pacing increase with the additional gold. Yharnam Titan, obviously, these are just ridiculously strong. They're big boys, big bodies with cleave. They have great stats, so I highly recommend them. In general, you're going to notice this deck is just really well-valued big body cards. Minotaur, oftentimes something really big that I have to get. I can use the Minotaur, but also get a draw on slaying, or if I'm just playing late game and I have something where I can survive the trade, it's really cool to have this threat on the board as well as getting that first kill and a draw. Jonviev, absolutely core of the deck. So this is the mandatory stuff that really makes the deck great. This is the resurrection. So again, you want to think about kind of what allies have been killed, but if you can resurrect big stuff as the game's getting later, you're going to take the advantage quite easily. So this deck has long range, and it will be something that late game your value will just outscale your opponent in almost all other decks. It's just great for that. Swordsman is incredible. You'll see that the charge and cleave, one thing in more advanced play is done is you want to be careful about if you know they might have swordsmen, you want to be careful about how you place your units and your peasants because you can't hit the castle off a charge directly, but you can cleave into it. And that is a very common finisher, and he could be resurrected to do this again. So this is absolutely critical part of the deck. The Valkyries, this is the resurrection value power again. So this you do have to be careful. Read carefully. It resurrects up to 2 random allies that were destroyed by spells. You will have to track this you'll have to track this if you want to do it optimally. You need to remember what was killed by spells, at least roughly, because I have made the mistake myself of playing the Valkyrie, thinking something died, but it actually died in a trade. Remember, you can also Yharnam Lightning your own units, and that can, if you have something that's near death and it served its job and you can get a clear, for instance, you can Yharnam Lightning it and you know that it will be part of the pool of Resurrect. And then Yenneroth, I think you guys all have this. Just big body gets you more 2 random frost cards. 1 is 0, so this really can save. You'll see sometimes you can really save yourself with a good frost card because you might get to freeze the whole board or something that's really pressing you to buy yourself some time. There's a little bit of stall here until you have your power, and then when you have your power, you really push. So this stuff is just incredibly strong late game. It's keeping a high revive pool, and it's a high value deck. I'd say this is one of the best decks, and it covers a lot of range. It's okay. It's decent early game. It ramps really well. It has AoE. There is healing and dispelling, but obviously, and with good draw, and obviously the resurrection pool and the returning units, you tend to start to pull ahead in a deck like this. So this is what I am using currently. This is the last of the decks that I have really started with to climb. There are some switches. So again, this deck was done by the community. I'm just sort of explaining my interpretation of it. The original version had, I think, it had Pegacorn. So Pegacorn is something that you can still slot in here. I would say because it has the last will summon, it is random what you get, but especially if you could resurrect a Pegacorn, he's on the good curve of resurrect for a 5. Which again, this is way powerful. This will probably have to be changed, but for now it works. This is something you can absolutely slot in. If you want kind of early curve power on the board, but also buffing your units. The War Cow uh, gives you some consistency. So I'd say Pegacorn and War Cow can give you a more consistent play in this. And then if you need the consistency as well in the deck is the Journey. This allows you to see, choose 2 top cards and then put 1 in your hand and 1 at the bottom of the deck. So this can just help you get what you want cleaner, and obviously you kind of know what you would not need and put that at the bottom. That's sort of around the curve area here. So if you're going to replace things, you could take out like a Gorgon and you could put a Pegacorn potentially or a cow. Let's say for that curve you would put the cow. You could put a cow there and make it work. You could, if you want the Pegacorn, it's a little. I think it's pretty good. Honestly, if I'm being honest, and I'm seeming to hesitate, like it's also you could switch out the Imperial Guards here. You can make it work. Both ones work for me almost the same. I think that if you guys play with this, you could actually find several things that can slot in that are either good resurrects, good tempo, good value. If you're getting, if you need to like have more consistency early game and more blocking, you might change that as well. But if you're not having that issue, you might want to press harder and more aggressive. And this style I play is slightly more aggressive. So that's Big Yellow. Let's go ahead and save that. I don't think we actually changed anything here. And then we'll go ahead and queue up. Let's see. Play Big Yellow. And we'll go ahead and do that. It's always tough to know what to keep in this deck. It's pretty tricky because you have such big cards. It's hard to know what to mulligan. I want to keep this. I think we're going to play slow. We're going to play real slow. The urge to lightning is strong. I don't know. I see ninjas. Ninjas usually do direct damage kind of fast. I'm not sure. I think we do. But then I think we don't want him to die to a spell. Okay, that wasn't very buffed. Let's go for it. Okay. Interesting. Kevin Claw. I think we go for the bullying a little bit. We could charge. Actually, let's keep the pressure high. I kind of want to jam up his strategy a little bit. This is a weird panda strategy. It's very odd. Should we try to force him into a bad position? I think this is okay. Well. Not my favorite. I know this is juicy, but I don't believe it's right. I think we're gonna get serious. Should we do this? You know, he can't end of days yet. I think we can just do it. I think we go. I think we go for the big boy. Let's do that. Oh yeah. Let's do that. Now that is the big yellow. Oh. Alright, but that cost you a lot. You can place them there if you want. Oh, that's scary. Scary Terry. Yeah. This guy's getting annoying. I'm thinking. I'm liking this setup. I think we're gonna even do this. I think we're gonna put him above range. We need to put pressure before end of days is like available if that's the thing. Big dino. Dynamite. This is gonna mix things up in a fun way. This gets me killed. Do I want that? Do I want that? Do I want that? We could do that. Let's do that. Ooh, too bad. This is nice, huh? Big. Please no end of days. Please. Please. Nope. Nope. Looking good. Looking good. Looking juicy. Looking juicy. Very juicy, guys. And that's why it's the big yellow.